Are you ready for a sketchbook tour? Let's do it. This one I started back in 2023, but I wasn't really working in sketchbooks a whole lot back then, so it didn't get a lot of use until just in the last year. It's a Talon's Art Creation sketchbook, and I really like those. They're inexpensive. Excuse me. And I like this size because I can do a single spread or I can do a double. And it works really nicely. And I don't know if you saw my posts a while back, but I started painting everything in my art studio and painted the cover of my sketchbook. So let's take a look inside. All right, this goes back to 23. We were in Galveston, and I was just doing a few little landscape sketches. This was a rainy day, and I was looking out the window, wishing I could be outside on the beach. Here's another one from the beach. This is gouache. The dunes here. Very loose, quick landscapes. And another. I was really in a landscape mode back then at that time, trying to figure out how I wanted to do the landscapes. This one, I saw this picture of this lady on the Instagram account, Advanced Style, and I just thought it was so funny because she's all fancy and then she's got a pig for a pet. So this is also gouache. In my sketchbooks, I just play. My sketchbooks are my playgrounds, and I try different things. I use different materials, try different techniques and styles, and sometimes I see something from another artist that I think looks fun, so I copy it in my sketchbooks to see if it's, what I can take from that, what I can learn from it. And that is perfectly fine because I'm never going to try to sell those things. They never leave my sketchbooks. So you will see some things in here that I have copied. And then some of them I've painted from photos, and there's just a large variety of things in here. It's kind of all over the place. This one is it was inspired by Jenny Bloomfield. I love her sketchbooks. She paints every day, and they're so loose and expressive. She has sold printed copies of her sketchbooks, and I have several of those. So this was playing around with a fall scene. I'm still using gouache and I'm trying to figure it out back at this time. It's a little bird. Some of my paintings in my sketchbooks I really don't like, and that's okay because even the ones I don't like, I've learned something from. This was another scene from Galveston. Terry was fishing and I was painting. Here's a fall scene. It is so beautiful here in the Ozarks in the fall, and I was just trying to capture some of the fall colors. A little sketch of something. I think that might have been at um, either at Roaring River or Dogwood Canyon. Not sure which. Little gouache bird. This is something that I'm sure I probably copied from someone and thought it looked like fun, and I did not enjoy doing it. So that's what I learned from that. I made notes here about all of my owl paintings. You will see lots of owls in this book. I really like painting them. So at some point I was using Liquitex soft body paint because it's sort of a semi-gloss. Um, Glossy paint makes your pages stick together. And so I was using a lot of the Liquitex, and I have since gone to flash paints and PBO matte pub paints because they are completely matte. But when I store my book, I do put some deli paper in between the pages because I don't want them to stick. You'll see as I go through here some places where they kind of did. Anyway, I like this guy, this close-up guy. That's one thing I noted when I was thinking about my owls, is that I really like painting the close-up versions of their faces. More owls, and I'm using acrylic paint, but I'm also using some colored pencils and some neo colors for the details. I don't know. I saw this picture on Pinterest or something, and I didn't ever finish it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I lose interest or I don't like it, and I just don't finish. Another owl. Don't love that guy quite as much. I'm not sure I even finished him. I think I was probably going to come back in and do some detail work, and I didn't do it. If I leave it and go on to something else, most of the time I don't come back. couple of Fridas in different styles. This one has some palette knife. I used a lot of palette knife work and Stabilo pencil, so she's a little looser and rougher. I love how she turned out. Just playing with some color. Sometimes I just sit down and it's a good warm up, pick out some colors I like. This is a mixing fluorescent magenta, the golden fluorescent magenta with other colors. It makes some great mixes. Just a good warm up. Oil pastels. I don't really love drawing. I keep thinking I'm going to draw and I keep trying it, and I wanted to try, I like to try different mediums. So this is all oil pastels. Don't really care for that too much, but it was an experiment. This one was a very impressionistic landscape, which I didn't really enjoy. Too tedious for me. And a little boat. It was kind of fun. We have a little cove near our house that's very secluded, and it's just beautiful. You can see where the little brook runs down. This is it's sort of a boggy area, I guess you'd say. And I went back there to paint one day, and I got everything so dark. I guess because it was dark and shady back there. I don't know, but that's really dark. And I thought I might come in later and lighten it up, but I never did. I think this was using up some leftover paint. And a fun little vase. Also using leftover paint, I think. We're into 2025 now, so these are getting more recent. Gouache and just playing with some patterns, and then I came back in with colored pencils for some details. I have no idea where this little guy came from. I just thought he would be fun to paint, I guess. He is kind of quirky. I think I started out with some splattered watercolor, and then that's where this little guy came from. That's what this is here, and then I just went from there. It feels like gouache, or maybe it's acrylic mixed with gesso because it's very matte, and then I used my colored pencils. And my Stabilos, I love them. Last summer, we took a vacation to Holland, Michigan, on Lake Michigan, and this was one day I just sat down on the beach and was just slinging color and having a good time. There's a big, it's called Big Red, actually, lighthouse over here. That's kind of what that represents, but just loose play and having a good time. My breakfast from our local coffee shop, the Table Rock Trading and Coffee. Another one on the beach in Holland, Michigan. The colors of the sand. I love the colors of this one. I really like these loose ones. There was, near the RV park where we stayed, there was a channel that came in from Lake Michigan into a marina and across to another small lake. And so all of the boats and ships that came in from Lake Michigan came through that channel. And there's a park. So I sat down there several times and just sketched. That was really fun. Oh, yes, my love, my coffee. I had already had some just watercolor or watered down acrylic that I put on some pages to prep them. I used some Neo colors and some, I think just Neo colors probably on there with the acrylic. This one, I'm going to raise this up so you can see a little better. This is at Roaring River State Park, which is near us, and it's just such a beautiful place. People do a lot of trout fishing there, but it's just beautiful. There's little, I don't know if you call them waterfalls or not, but little flowing water. And then this one is from Dogwood Canyon, which is another park that's near us, and there are big waterfalls in there. So those were some plein air sketching that I did. Trying to just capture the movement of the water. Those were really fun. Another boat. I love when I see boats that other artists do, but I apparently don't enjoy doing them because I don't seem to finish the ones that I start. A little tree sketch. Sometimes I jump into the Birdtober challenge in October. I've never done the whole thing, but And I do that mostly in another sketchbook. I have one that's just mostly birds. But I thought I would try just using acrylic markers and colored pencils. No painting, just markers and pencils. Didn't really enjoy doing it, and I don't love the result. Are you seeing a pattern here? But I keep trying. This is on the Buffalo River in Arkansas. My sister and my niece and I like to go down there and hang out. And I used acrylics, but I also used some art graph, which is this. These are broken pieces, but it's Taylor's chalk, and so it makes great marks. And then you can wet it or use it with gesso. So that's what all the line work is here. I'm not super thrilled with the result of this sketch, but when I look at it, I remember the day we spent there. So that's really nice. One day, late in the afternoon, this was in November, so it was that beautiful golden light, the golden hour. I looked down in front of our house and I saw that beautiful color on the lake and reflecting on the trees, and I just grabbed my supplies and I ran down there. And when I finished this, I really didn't like it at all. But now, as I look back at it, I kind of do like it. My main goal was just to capture that beautiful golden color. So it's kind of fun. Very abstract, but that was a super quick, really fun one because I was trying to get it done before that, that golden light moved away. I should have looked. I don't know. I did a sketching thing with someone on YouTube and I cannot remember who it was. So I'm so sorry, but I thought that little kitty was fun. And I already had the pink paint splattered on. Here's a little tree sketch. I was following Jo Blaker on Substack, and she did a month of trees. So that was one with her. That was fun. Another kitty. I don't do my pages in order. I skip around. This was my Christmas tree. This was a picture from Pexels, which is just a site with royalty-free images that you can use. And I was drawing, just using markers and pencils, playing around with that. And I actually like her. She was kind of fun. I sketched this from a photo of our dock because I was thinking about doing a big painting of our dock, which I haven't done yet. This is the design on my light switch cover that is in my art studio. It's Talavera pottery, which I love. An online flower painting challenge, and I never came back and finished this. Here I am again with, this was all Neo colors. That's all this is. Just trying to see what I could do with them. Sunflowers. And I don't hate it. I just like paint so much better. Little woodpecker. We have so many different kinds of woodpeckers around here, and I just love them. I love looking at them and watching them at the feeders. And this was a super quick self-portrait sketch, which is charcoal, so I've got the paper in there so it doesn't smear off. Another owl. And another owl. I subscribe to Birds and Blooms magazine, and they have the most beautiful bird pictures in there, and so I use those for references a lot of the time. My coffee, but first coffee always. And now we're getting into still lifes. This is when I started really getting interested, and so you're going to see a lot of still life from here on. Oh, and then there's another landscape. We're in February of 26 now. So we've moved into the current year. This is inspired by the view from our dock, I believe, and I had painted the background pink first, so it's got that nice pink glow. Super loose and quick. I went down to the bridge in Shell Knob. We have a really cool old iron bridge, so I went down there and painted one day. I thought I might do some bridge paintings on canvas, but I don't know. I haven't. I lost my mojo. I haven't been feeling that since I went and did the sketches. Saw these cool vases in an anthropology ad. They were fun to paint. And again, I had some color already on the page. Sometimes I go through my sketchbooks and I'll just splash a little color here and there to give me something to start with. I saw this picture. This is from a photo that I saw on Pinterest, and I loved the shadow. So I was playing around with the shadow in the background in different colors. The art of wasting time. The picture didn't say that on the book. I just added that. This is from our lake shore, and I was playing around with not making the landscape accurate colors. Don't really love how it turned out, but it was really fun to paint. Well, still life. I didn't care for this and I didn't finish it. I just didn't like this. I don't know. I just didn't like it. Lost interest. What I discovered that I like are close up still lifes that fill the page. So that's kind of where I went from there. Just a fun little vase, probably inspired by a Pinterest photo. And this, I did an online course with Suzanne Allard, which was her still life course, and that's where that came from. This is gouache. I think I'm using up leftover paint here. Hollyhock-ish flowers. This is also in that little cove that I mentioned earlier. At least I didn't get this one quite so dark. There's a path here and the lake's over here. And that same day, I decided to do a really close up of the trees and got lots of detail. That was very fun. I used my art graph for the lines, and there was already this color on the page. So that was a really fun one. Just nice to get out. It was in April and it was a really nice sunny day, so I went down there to sketch. My sister and I we like to go hiking around the area, and this is at Kings River Falls in Arkansas. Gosh, just it's near Huntsville. Oh, so beautiful. Did not take art supplies with me that day, and I was kicking myself because I didn't. But I came back home and I painted this just from a photo. There's just layers of, there's like a flat area and then falls and then fall. There's so many little waterfalls. That was a terrible description. Anyway, so yeah, I was just trying to catch the movement of the water, not loving the green color, but anyway, it was fun to do and gave me a memory of the day. This is art graph, all this dark, all the line work is art graph. And then I started painting little cottages that I saw on Pinterest and dreaming about living in one. Another little flower vase. This was really fun. This was just a fast, loose. There's acrylic paint, there's some colored pencils, and it says, "Don't let the ugly in others kill the beauty in you." Let you see some of the detail in there. I like the little polka dot vase. Make it a regular habit to overwhelm someone with your kindness. And this one, I think I painted it was inspired anyway. It's not exactly from a Pinterest photo, but oh man, I just loved all that yellow. Ooh, there's a little bit of colored pencil detail on there. I love that one. Yellow's my happy color. Yeah, coffee to go. Huh, a play on words there. I've never tried to do anything Van Gogh-ish, and I won't again, probably. I did not enjoy this. Did not really like the way it turned out, but it was an experiment. Another cottage by the sea. Here's a little still life that's zoomed in. I like these so much better. This one I finished off with oil pastels, and I love the effect, and I like using them, but they don't really lend themselves to sketchbooks because they stay sticky. So I put some deli paper in there. These are color studies, I guess you would call them. I love watching Lindsay Green's YouTube videos, and she does a lot of color play. And so I have been doing some of that and mixing up some different color palettes and then painting a little still life with those colors, just, to try something completely different. This is not a palette I would ever have used on my own, but it was really fun. And I used Neo colors and colored pencils for the detail, which is something I haven't done a lot, so I wanted to try some more of that. This is the same. I love this palette though. This vintagey pink and green is yummy. A flag for 4th of July. This is the same paint, some of that leftover vintagey pink and green, but just trying something different. I did like all the little leaves and stems and things are colored pencil, and I used more colored pencil detail. This is colored pencil. Trying some things differently, see how I like them. This is from a book, Frances Palmer. It's called Life in the Studio. She makes ceramics, pottery, and she has the most beautiful book with photos of her pottery, and it's everything about it's just beautiful. Food, pottery, her studio. It's a beautiful book. And I painted this image from that, and darn it, it's stuck together in the middle there. That's disappointing, but this was really fun. This is also from her book, and I was just playing with light and shadow and depth and dimension and all of that with the different values, and this was so much fun. I could do this all day long and forget about drawing. I just really like paint so much better. Just a couple of little quickies. These are very recent. When I start getting close to the end of a sketchbook, then I get really motivated, and I wanted to try to do a little something every day. So I really like how that vase turned out. And the irises, I came in with some, you can see the detail there with Neo Color and finished them off. That's a fun palette with that orange in the background. Little grapes. I was doing a still life, and I thought I might want to put some grapes in it, so this was kind of a practice run. This was one morning. I had my grandson here, and I had just a few minutes while he was taking a nap, so I was hurrying. That was a 10-minute little pear sketch there. It's fun, though. Another more color play, and my page stuck together in the middle. This was a color palette that I mixed up. It looked better in the uh, book where I got the palette. I did not like this. I don't like anything about this. Don't like those colors, don't like anything. But you know, you learn something from the things you don't like. Everything on this page was done with the same colors, the background, everything. But then with those same paint colors, I painted the watermelon, and I love the watermelon. That was fun. And I mixed up way too much of those colors, so I had lots of green left. This was from a photo on Pinterest, and there was like, I guess maybe, it looked like bathroom tile, big square tiles in the background. And I loved this vase. The flowers, I didn't do like the photo. I do that with, I'll look at a photo for inspiration, and then I just do my own thing. Take something I like from it. But this was fun. That vase was really fun. And more of the green paint and pink paint left over. But I used a stencil for the background here, for the wallpaper, and for the tablecloth. So that was really fun. The quality of life is in proportion, always, to the capacity for delight. That is a Julia Cameron quote that I love. We cleaned out our motorhome because we sold it. And so I pulled all my books and everything out, and I had seashell books in there from when we stayed at the beach. And so I thought, oh, I'll paint some seashells. So I painted one, and I don't really like painting seashells, so that's probably the only one. But that was a fun experiment. And then this was just a little thing that was inspired by a photo I saw somewhere. It turned out really cute. I like it. I'm probably going to do some big paintings from that. We went to Natural Falls State Park near Siloam Springs, Arkansas last week. My family went hiking and saw the falls, and my niece likes to make stacks of rocks, and I did this from a photo of her rocks, and I don't really like even the way this turned out, but it was really fun to do because I was just playing around with my art graph, and this is gesso mixed with the art graph. So this was just kind of an experiment with materials. Another cottage. And this little lady, I saw this hat in a picture, and I thought that hat was so cute. So that's where she came from. And last week in Kansas City, I was was visiting a friend. We went to the botanical gardens, and there was a succulent that it looked like hens and chickens. It was just this one, and that sucker was about a foot wide. It was huge. So that's what inspired this. See, you can tell as I'm talking about my sketches, inspiration comes from everywhere. And a lot of the inspiration comes from places I go and things I see. And then I just carry all that around in my head and it comes out in art. And it goes into my sketchbooks. Sometimes it makes it into paintings, sometimes not. And sometimes, years later, I may go back to a sketch and pull something from it for a painting. Or sometimes I just sit and look through my sketchbooks and remember. And this is the last one, Bloom with a Messy Kind of Magic. Love that bold color palette. And I'm really happy with the way that vase turned out. So this is the last one in the book. I was playing around with the art graph and the gesso back here. And that is the end, my friends. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Have a great day.